Well, it's the first couple of weeks of January, and this is always my favorite time of the year, at least for like a new year, because it gives me a chance to just kind of breathe, take stock, and have a look at some of the releases, like the big releases from the previous year. Some of the things that I love to do is go on the prog rock archives and find, the top 100 albums of the previous year, and just see if there's anything on that list that I had missed, something like out of nowhere that's getting a really high review or a high rating. And this is one of those albums that had that. I had never heard about these guys before. It was given a really high review, so I figured, hey, what a better way to start the new year than with a new fun release. So let's dive into this one. Magick Brother and Mystic Sister, self-titled debut album. So, Magick Brother and Mystic Sister are kind of a quartet of music. They got their start in Barcelona, and they actually got their name from a gong album, which is kind of fun. They're being kind of a conglomeration of like a caravan kind of an idea, more of like a psychedelic space rock, almost like Canterbury scene. The best way that I can kind of pin this style of music is if when Pink Floyd was looking for a new guitarist, instead of going with David Gilmour, they decided to go with Anthony Phillips from Genesis. And that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting on this album. There are a number of pieces that I feel have been lifted right off of some of Anthony Phillips' solo work, like The Ghost and the Goose or the private pieces. I also feel like there's a number of sections on here that still have that David Gilmour soaring guitar works, and that's specifically found under the third track of The First Light, and it's really the only time when the guitar work takes center stage rather than being more of an atmospheric harmonizing instrument, especially within kind of like the finger picking. And that's more of the reason why I feel like this is more of an Anthony Phillips style of guitar work rather than a David Gilmour style of guitar work. And that's also part of the reason why I mentioned it feels like if Pink Floyd went with Anthony Phillips rather than with David Gilmour, even if they were still testing the waters with David Gilmour. Honestly, the focal point of this is definitely the flute. And that's being provided by Maya Fernandez. And Maya does a brilliant job of ushering this very clean and crisp flute. Whenever you're talking about a flautist within a progressive rock scene, you're always going to be thinking of Ian Anderson or even maybe a little bit of Peter Gabriel. And Maya has this great style that's very flowy and very center stage like Ian's playing is, but it's also very atmospheric and very harmonizing the same way that Peter's was. And whenever Maya takes the center stage when it comes to that flouting style, I feel like there's such a presence of this master craft, like the ability to not only lead the song but also know when to step back and harmonize with all the instruments that are going on here. It provides a brilliant listen and a really fun and unique style of music, specifically in a genre such as the psychedelic space rock that doesn't really have a lot of these more, traditional musical styling. Whenever you're dealing with a space rock, it's usually overlays of synthesizers and mellotrons and guitar works. And so having anything outside of that mainstream is actually quite pleasant and a breath of fresh air. And I really want to give a huge shout out to Xavi Sandoval, the bass player and guitar individual on this one. Their bass work is particularly brilliant on this. It doesn't just follow the main rhythm that whatever guitarist is putting down. And in fact, they're the only ones that provide any kind of a guitar work and bass line. So they're kind of playing double fiddle on this one. So whenever there's like this really soaring guitar work, we can actually attribute that to Xavi, and I think that's how you pronounce their name. But really, it's the bass work that I particularly enjoy with their playing. Their ability to lay down a perfect groove, one that's interesting and very melodic as well. And I feel like a good bass player kind of blends into the background and you don't really notice them all that well. But a great bass player is one that shines forth without you even really noticing. And when you do notice, it's not because they're a bad one, because a bad bass player you will notice right away. So a great bass player comes in right when you want them to. And I feel like Xavi's ability to really sprinkle in some really fantastic bass grooves are just tantamount. I'm very excited about that. The other person, I mean, Mark Tena as the drums and vocals on here does a fantastic job. But another person that I really have to call out is Ava Mantada. Yep, Mantada. I think I got that one. Ava's ability for not only the piano, synthesizers, organs, and mellotrons, but also the vocal works on there, just outstanding. And that overlay of that space rock groove, again, I've already mentioned this a number of times, but their abilities to shine when the spotlight is on them, but also blend into the background of those overlaid harmonizations and melodies is just fantastic. Some of the standout tracks on here, for me at least, we've got Movement 2 and Love Scene, the 7th and 8th track I really particularly enjoy. I also love the instrumentation work on here. I love how the tracks are structured in this more ethereal, almost intangible track lists where you don't have that standard verse, chorus. These ones really stuck a punch for me. They're immediately recognizable, and I don't have to really like wade my way through the track to get to something really golden. There's something right from the forefront. I've already mentioned The First Life, but the other one that I really love is Yogi T. This one is that psychedelic craving that I've had for a while. With a lot of these psychedelic space rocks, you do run the risk of just emulating, early Pink Floyd or early Caravan or like early masters of the psych acid rock. And I love how these guys are able to bring something new into that flavor. And Yogi T does that in such a fantastic way. Now, I mean, I also have to talk about Less Vampires, the last track off of this album. There's a fantastic way of like wrapping this whole thing up and kind of summarizing things that we've already been presented with. Overall, I really enjoyed the debut album from Magick Brother and Mystic Sister. It's psychedelic, it's spacey, it's standing on the shoulders of giants and walking a path that's already been trod without just copying or ripping off those artists. They're elevating the music into something new. They're trying new flavors within this already established stew. I've really enjoyed this. I love how each song just kind of blends into one another, and it provides a very pleasant listen to from start to finish. Honestly, this is a fantastic stream. This isn't necessarily one that I would like run back to, and it's not one that I would say run, don't walk to go to listen to this one. This is a nice, pleasant, like Sunday afternoon type of an album. One where you have the whole day to kind of relax and just kind of take it in, enjoy maybe a nice glass of wine or something of a higher delicacy. For me, it's probably going to be a nice thing of tea, and just kind of enjoy the atmosphere that this album puts down. So that's what I have to say about the first review of 2021, Magick Brother and Mystic Sister. What did you guys think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Whatever you thought, let me know by commenting down below. Also, if you like what you see and you want to help support me, see, I'm doing that whole rhyming thing. Check out my Patreon down below. At the end of this video, I'll list all my patrons who have graciously helped supported me throughout the years. And you can be added to that list as well as get some really fun perks. So go and check that out as well. And yeah, this week I'm just going to kind of ease my way back into some of these reviews. So I've got a number of classic album reviews coming later on this week. I'm pretty excited about that. I've asked some of my followers on Twitter what albums you want me to review, and I got some really fantastic recommendations. So I'll be covering a few of those as well as a few of the albums that I've always really wanted to talk about, but just haven't really found the time. It's going to be a great time. So that's about it. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.